Lost Planet is a video game series of third-person shooters published by Capcom. The series follows a number of protagonists on E.D.N. III, a planet in the process of an ice age, as they survive and fight the environment, various alien creatures and those planning to colonize the planet. It consists of three main installments: Lost Planet, Extreme Condition, Lost Planet 2 and Lost Planet 3, and a spin-off titled EX Troopers. While Capcom developed Lost Planet 2 and EX Troopers internally, Spark Unlimited developed Lost Planet 3. Games Lost Planet, Extreme Condition equals. The first Lost Planet game takes place in the year known in the game as a TC-80 on the fictional planet of E.D.N. III. After the Earth's conditions become too hostile for humans due to war, global warming and pollution, a fictional interstellar mega-corporation named Neo-Venus Construction plans to colonize E.D.N. III, a new Earth-like planet in grip of a brutal ice age. NEVEC discover that E.D.N. III is inhabited by an aggressive and territorial insectoid alien species named the Acrid, which come in all shapes and sizes and generate their own precious thermal energy. 150 years after a great war was fought in which the humans lost to the Acrid, the plot of the game revolves around Wayne Holden, a snow pirate, who attempts to overthrow the ruthless NEVEC, who still vie for control over E.D.N. III, and help colonization efforts for the remainder of the human race by destroying the Acrid, all the while attempting to survive both betrayals and the extreme conditions of the planet. Lost Planet received mixed reviews on the PlayStation 3 and PC, but more positive reception for the Xbox 360 version. The game sold over 1 million copies worldwide by April 2007. IGN gave the Xbox 360 version their Editor's Choice Award, and it won the award for Best Xbox 360 Game at the Leipzig Games Convention. Lost Planet, Colonies equals. Lost Planet, Colonies is a Gold Edition version of Extreme Condition for the Xbox 360 and PC. The game includes new multiplayer maps, a human vs. Acrid multiplayer mode, and a selection of new multiplayer characters and weapons. Colonies also introduces 4 new single-player modes: Score Attack, Time Trial Battle Mode, First-Person Shooter Mode, and Unlimited Mode. The game also includes cross-platform play between Xbox Live and games for Windows or Euro Live users. The Colonies edition is not compatible with the original Lost Planet save games or multiplayer game, so players of each release may only play with others who have the same release. The game was released in North America on May 27, 2008. In Japan on May 29. And in Europe on June 6. Lost Planet 2 equals. Lost Planet 2 is the sequel to Lost Planet, Extreme Condition, taking place 10 years after the events of the first game, on the same fictional planet. It is both developed and published by Capcom. The game was released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 on May 11, 2010 in the United States and in Europe. It was also released for Microsoft Windows for North America on October 12, 2010 and for Europe on October 15, 2010. EX Troopers equals. EX Troopers is a spin-off game of the Lost Planet series. It is developed by Capcom and released only in Japan for Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation 3 on November 22, 2012. The game added new and more dangerous hostile Acrid enemies along with several new weapons. Lost Planet 3 equals. Lost Planet 3 is the third entry in the series and was developed by Spark Unlimited instead of Capcom. Like its predecessors, it was released on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Microsoft Windows in August 2013 and takes place in the same Ice Age-like environment as the first instead of the varied environments of the second. Development. Capcom first introduced Lost Planet on December 10, 2005 at an invite-only press conference announcing Jun Takeuchi as both the producer and executive producer, Kenji Ogura as the designer and Shinko Urasawa whom wrote the original story. At the conference, Capcom announced that they would follow the tradition of basing the main character of their game after a real person. Capcom decided to base the main character Wayne after the famous Korean star, Young-Hun Lee. To capture the full essence of Lee, Capcom used a program called Face Robot. This allowed Capcom to use Lee's basic expressions and translate them to Wayne in the game. Capcom had Lee dress up in a recreation of Wayne's attire and then did full-body 3D scan to translate Lee into Wayne using a function called Gator. But instead of using Lee for character animations, the developers did so manually. As for environments, Capcom used up to 300,000 to 600,000 polygons in the screen at once for a single battle. They then used an XSI program and then manually added in elaborate details. One of the main focuses of Lost Planet was to make a game that could be a commercial success in both North America and Japan. Lost Planet 2 runs on the MT Framework 2.0, an updated version of the engine used in several Capcom-developed games. A support for the campaign mode can have up to 4 players working together via the Internet. Plot equals. The first Lost Planet begins in the year of the game TC-80 where the Earth has become too hostile for human life. A company named NEVEC tries to start colonization on the planet E.D.N. III. Upon arriving on the planet, NEVEC discovers an alien race called Acrid and are forced off the planet, momentarily stopping colonization efforts. Returning to E.D.N. III with an army prepared to fight, they find that the Acrid can only function because their bodies contain reserves of thermal energy. Humans must also carry supplies of thermal energy to survive on E.D.N. III. NEVEC builds the first vital suit, a mecha powered by Tieng, to fight the Acrid. Meanwhile, civilian colonists and bands of E.D.N. III military personnel continue to seek out a nomadic existence as snow pirates, harvesting Tieng from fallen Acrid. The story of the sequel takes place back on E.D.N. III, 10 years after the events of the first game. The snow has melted to reveal jungles and more tropical areas that have taken the place of more frozen regions. The game centers on a civil war to gain Tieng. Player S will assume control of several different groups of soldiers, called snow pirates, and battle the Acrid. The Acrid have expanded their armies and return much more powerful in Lost Planet 2. Film adaptation. In July 2008, it was announced that David Hayter was in talks with Warner Bros. To write and direct a film adaptation of Lost Planet. On July 15, 2008, at the 2008 E3 Expo, Capcom announced their partnership with Warner Bros. To make the film based on this game. Father and son producing team Avi and Ari Arad also having been tapped to work on the project, and although no cast have yet been signed on, the film is set for release sometime in 2013. In 2010, Hayter told MTV that he penned a few drafts of the screenplay adaptation of the Capcom game, but that internal issues appear to have stalled the project. We had some internal issues between a couple of the companies, which I think has caused a delay there, he revealed. In 2014, Hayter revealed that plans for the film simply faded after the studio hit a financial crash around the time he submitted his draft. References. External links, official website.